I am genuinely beside myself after what I just read in this video. We've got a new report that came out this morning that just has a wild news story attached to it, plus another new report on what this means going forward for the 49ers. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Got a 10K giveaway coming around for subscribers only, so make sure you're subbed up on this channel so you don't miss out on that opportunity when we do break the cut. We're on the cusp of 10K. We're about to have it happen. But the first piece of news that is absolutely wild to me is what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan just did. Listen to this, reported by Taylor Wirth of NBC Sports, but it actually comes out of Denver. The story comes out of Denver. Before the 27-year-old eventually signed a 3-year, $35 million contract with the Denver Broncos in free agency, San Francisco paid the star linebacker a visit at home in Texas earlier this offseason and even outbid Denver for Greenlaw's services. The Denver Post's Luca Evans reported in a story on Sunday, citing sources with the knowledge of the situation. General Manager John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan, in fact, had flown to Greenlaw's home in Texas to check in with him. Multiple sources with knowledge of the situation told the Denver Post. San Francisco eventually had outbid the Broncos, who'd honed in on Greenlaw to revamp the heart of their defense. But the 49ers brass only flew out, and their offer only increased after the Broncos had already come after Greenlaw, sources said. There's more to the story, right? I want to talk about this for just a second, okay? And then we're going to get to what this means, which is another story coming from NBC Sports from NBC Sports Bay Area, Jennifer Lee Chan. But let's just pause for a second. The 49ers wanted Greenlaw back so badly, they flew to his house and basically begged him to stay, and then proceeded to outbid the Denver Broncos and offer Dre Greenlaw more money to keep him here. Schefter, of course, reported, if you forgot, that the 49ers were still trying to snag him from the Denver Broncos after he had already agreed in principle but had not signed on the dotted line with the Denver Broncos. So Dre Greenlaw chose the Denver Broncos over the San Francisco 49ers over more money. My wife and her family, they are going to be ecstatic. I texted my brother-in-law when I first saw this. He's ecstatic. He's over the moon. But this is kind of crazy when you think about it. This is telling me a lot about what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan think about Dre Greenlaw and what they think about their current team. And let's just throw a few out there for number one, okay? They immensely valued Greenlaw. They were willing to put everything on the line to chase after him, to try and snag him from the Broncos after he'd already agreed in principle with the Denver Broncos. They did everything within their power to try and bring Greenlaw back to the San Francisco 49ers. Which brings me to point number two, that Greenlaw, he could not pass up on this chance to be the Mike in Denver on a 3-year deal in the absolute prime of his career age-wise. This situation for Dre Greenlaw, I think if I'm with Greenlaw behind closed doors and hearing the conversation fly on the wall sort of situation, I think what's happening here is Dre Greenlaw, I'm sure he's enticed by the Denver Broncos. I'm sure there's that new season of life, try new things, start over. There's a lot of benefits to switching teams that are beyond just the football season, okay? But from a footballing point of view, I think what Dre Greenlaw wanted is he wanted to be the Mike. He wanted to write his own story. He wanted to be at the top of the game, and he wanted to do it as the guy who gets all the credit or has all the pressure. However you want to phrase that. I don't mean that in a way that he's just switching to the Broncos to make himself feel good. I don't mean it in that kind of way. But I think that's what's happening here. And all of that time, John and Kyle, they weren't looking for a replacement for Greenlaw. All of those reports that we got, the 49ers weren't looking for a replacement. They wanted Greenlaw. They weren't worried about health. They were confident in Greenlaw. They weren't worried about money. They had plenty of it for Greenlaw. So there's a lot there that we could unpack, and I could go for a long time on that. So I'm going to go ahead and slow down here, and I'm just going to tell you, honestly, let me know in the comments how you're feeling. I feel devastated by this. I feel devastated by this news on one hand, because it confirms what we all thought. It confirms what we all thought in terms of the value that Greenlaw should have been this season for the 49ers, and is now going to be for the Denver Broncos. It confirms that value. It also is devastating for me because I can see that the team really believed, the front office really believed he still had that in front of him. And they don't believe that that injury is going to be a huge issue going forward. This was not the 49ers, as I reported at times, I'll be honest. This was not the 49ers saying we're trying to stay away from injury-prone players, quote unquote. I guess I didn't put those words out there. But whatever. This is not the 49ers trying to get away from guys who have had injuries. This is the 49ers really clearly wanting Dre Greenlaw and going to great lengths to try and keep him here, willing to put a lot of money on the line to try and keep him here, flying out there to his home to try and convince him to stay. The 49ers were putting every foot forward they could, and they couldn't get it over the line. The other side of this, though, the thing that's not devastating, the positive side of this for me, is I'm as confident as ever that this was completely out of the hands of the organization. There is nothing the 49ers could have done to keep him around. That's why that going away party happened. Because Dre Greenlaw probably knew from the very beginning, and we know he told some of the guys when they were in Mexico way before everything was finalized, Dre Greenlaw knew he was leaving. He was ready for this new season. He was ready for this new opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I'm not exactly sure. No one really knows but Dre, but clearly, this was outside of the hands of the organization, and that makes me feel a little bit better. Because, at least we know the 49ers, when we see, okay, when my wife and her family and everybody sits down to watch the Denver Broncos every Sunday, and I'm there watching Dre Greenlaw in blue and orange, I'm going to at least have that peace of mind that when he goes and lights it up and has great plays and looks like the Dre Greenlaw of old, I'm going to be able to at least say, you know what? They did the best they could. Because if they hadn't done that and Dre Greenlaw is healthy all next season and has a standout season for the Denver Broncos, all of us are going to be watching, and same thing with Hufanga in a way, like, oh man, I wish we could have done more to try and keep him. So to know that they did everything they could does actually make me feel better. What do we do with this though? Jennifer Lee Chan wrote an article the other day talking about the linebacker situation and how Greenlaw was the biggest departure of the offseason for us, which I agree with, by the way. I think all of us probably do. And here's what she said. Currently on the roster, D. Winters and Tatum Bethune are both options to become full-time starters. Curtis Robinson, too, I'll throw out there as well, is on the list. But with the former gaining experience with appearances in 15 games in 2024, 10 as a starter, Winters recorded 44 tackles, 26 solo, and 4 pass breakups in his sophomore season. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about D. Winters in just a second here, but let's keep going. Tatum Bethune was active for 11 games, appearing predominantly on special teams for 165 plays. But only 51 defensive snaps. Veteran Curtis Robinson re-signed with the team, but the timeline for his return from ACL injury is uncertain. But I'm just so desperately want Curtis Robinson to be a top contributor for all that he's done, the story, for turning down the Titans, all of that. Top flight linebackers also are scarce in the 2025 NFL draft class, with only Jihad Campbell and Jalen Walker considered to be the first-round caliber prospects by the majority of draft pundits, both of which have been linked with the 49ers many times in like mock drafts and things like that. So, either of those guys would be huge pickups for the 49ers. We'll come back to that. Campbell's draft stock has taken a hit after undergoing surgery to mend a torn labrum in his shoulder following the NFL scouting combine. That's a good situation for the 49ers if they have eyes for him. NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah still has him slated for the 9 spot by the New Orleans Saints, while his counterpart, Bucky Brooks, has the prospect listed lower at number 19, being taken by Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that torn labrum could be an opportunity for the 49ers to get their hands on him, which is an interesting opportunity for sure. Both of those guys are top prospects, and either one of them would be a huge pickup for the 49ers. Walker is projected to be as a hybrid off-the-ball linebacker pass rusher who can get after the quarterback. Defensive coordinator Robert Saleh is probably already imagining ways he could use the talented players talents, the talented players' talents, even as a raw physical talent. But there will need to be an acclimation as the Bulldog does not have significant experience in coverage, which I think was, I'm not going to say I think, I know what that was one of the biggest problems with blanking on his, and I'm glad I forgot his name, Devondre Campbell. There's another Campbell. That was one of the biggest issues with Devondre Campbell. In coverage, he was really weak at times, and obviously against the run, also pretty weak there. Often outside of his position where he should be. Fred Warner trying to cover for him a lot, so we don't want that situation. So the situation for the 49ers is you go and draft a guy, or you've got D. Winters, Tatum Bethune that you're hoping are going to step up, okay? Both of which should have every good reason in the world to step up and be more mature. And if D. Winters took one more step, I've told you before, like he has the ability to be a Dre Greenlaw type in terms of his skill set and ability. But I think he still has a step to go if he's going to try and fill the shoes of Dre Greenlaw. If he gets the opportunity and gets the full-time starter position right there next to Fred Warner, it will be interesting. I would love to see what it looks like, but we're going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. Of course, if you do draft a guy, in general, college linebacking potential to NFL, because the game is so different, as a general rule, is already a huge leap. It's very difficult. So to go from college to the NFL, plus also needing to be a starter, plus also trying to fill the void that we had without Dre Greenlaw all of last season, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to happen in the draft, folks. I believe highly in these prospects, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So what I would love to see is D. Winters really step into that role and take that one. Honestly, it's just one big step forward for Winters, and he could genuinely be that type of a top talent. With the right coach, Robert Saleh, there's a huge opportunity there that I would love to see D. Winters take. 25 days to the 2025 NFL Draft, 25 to 25. There you go. It finally happened. So we're getting real close. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you're coming back every day so you know how to get involved in that giveaway when the time comes, when we hit 10K. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday, and I hope this kickstarts your week.